It was a quiet Sunday morning in Maplewood Park, the kind of place where parents sipped coffee while kids chased butterflies. Jake Turner sat alone on a worn-out bench, his service dog Max resting by his feet. A retired Marine, Jake was used to silence, the kind that followed him home from the battlefield years ago. He'd been through things most people couldn't imagine. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him to raise their son, Ethan, on his own. Life wasn't easy, but Jake never complained. He believed in small kindnesses. A wave to a neighbor, helping someone lift groceries, fixing a kid's bike. Little things that kept him human. That morning, he was tossing a ball for Max when 2 small figures came running from across the playground. Twin girls, maybe 6 years old, wearing matching pink jackets and pigtails. Their faces were pale, streaked with tears. "Please, help us," one cried, gripping his sleeve. "Our mom's not moving. She's dying." Jake froze for a second, then instincts kicked in. "Show me where," he said calmly, his voice steady but urgent. They led him to a black SUV parked by the road. Inside, a woman, mid-30s, dressed in a business suit, was slumped over the steering wheel. Her skin had gone ghostly pale. Jake pulled open the door. He checked for a pulse, faint, irregular. Her breathing was shallow. Then he spotted an EpiPen on the floor, anaphylactic shock. He muttered under his breath. Without hesitation, he administered the injection into her thigh, just like he'd done countless times in the field. Then he tilted her head back, checking her airway, staying calm as the twins sobbed beside him.
"It's okay,"
he said softly. "She's gonna be okay. Just breathe with me." Within moments, the woman gasped for air, her eyes fluttering open. Tears filled the twins' eyes as they hugged their mother tightly. Jake stepped back, relief washing over him. Paramedics arrived minutes later, taking over. One of them recognized him. "Jake Turner, right? You saved my brother overseas," the EMT said with a grin. "Didn't think I'd see you saving lives here too." Jake just nodded quietly, petting Max. Just did what needed to be done. But the story didn't end there. 2 days later, a black luxury car stopped outside Jake's small rental home. Out stepped the same woman, looking stronger, with her twin daughters holding her hands. "I didn't get to thank you properly," she said. "You saved my life. I'm Claire Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Tech." Jake blinked in surprise. The name was everywhere. She was one of the most powerful women in the city. Claire smiled warmly. "When I woke up in the hospital, the doctors said if you hadn't been there, I wouldn't have made it. You didn't just save me, you saved my girls from losing their mom." Jake tried to brush it off. Anyone would have done the same. She shook her head. "No, not everyone would have known what to do. Not everyone would have cared enough to stop." Then she handed him an envelope. Inside was a job offer, head of security for Whitmore Tech with full benefits. Jake looked up, stunned. "Mom, I don't. You've spent your life protecting others," Claire said softly. "Let me return the favor. You belong somewhere that recognizes that." Max barked as if agreeing. Jake chuckled. It was the first real laugh he'd had in a long time. Months later, Jake settled into his new role. His son had a better school, they had a home, and Jake, for the first time since the war, felt peace. The twins adored him, often running to his office just to see Max. Every time Claire passed his desk, she'd smile. They didn't need to say much. Both knew that kindness had connected their worlds in a way money or status never could. One small act, one moment of compassion, had rewritten all their stories. And every Sunday, Jake still sat at that same park bench, watching kids play, sipping his coffee. But now, when people passed by, they didn't see a lonely veteran. They saw the man who had quietly changed lives, not with medals or fame, but with heart. Because sometimes, the greatest heroes aren't the ones in headlines, they're the ones who stop when others keep walking. 1 year later, Maplewood Park looked a little different. The benches had been repainted, the playground had new swings, and the sound of laughter filled the air. Jake sat on his usual bench, Max lying beside him, his fur starting to gray around the muzzle. The sun was warm on his face, and for once he felt a kind of peace that didn't need explaining. Ethan came running toward him, a soccer ball under his arm, shouting, "Dad, did you see my goal?" Jake grinned and gave him a thumbs up. "Sure did, champ. You're getting better every week." A moment later, a familiar voice called out from behind, "Mind if we join you?" It was Claire, walking up with her twin daughters. They were a little taller now, their hair longer, their faces glowing with the joy only children could carry. "Hey, heroes," Jake said, smiling at them. "How's school treating you?" One of the twins giggled. "Mom says we have to study hard so we can be brave like you someday." Claire laughed softly, setting down a picnic basket. "They insisted we bring lunch to share. I didn't argue." Jake helped her spread out a blanket. As they sat together, the kids played fetch with Max, and for a while everything felt perfectly ordinary, but in the best way possible. Claire glanced at Jake, her eyes thoughtful. "You know, after that day I started seeing things differently. I used to live every moment chasing the next deal, the next goal. But you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. People matter more than power." Jake looked at her for a moment before replying quietly. "Sometimes it takes losing control to remember what really matters." She smiled. "And sometimes it takes meeting someone who's walked through hell and still knows how to be kind." Jake chuckled, shaking his head. "I'm no saint, Claire. I've just seen what happens when people stop caring." A silence settled between them, not heavy, but peaceful. The kind that didn't need to be filled with words. Later that afternoon, Claire's phone buzzed. She hesitated, then switched it off. "You know what? It can wait. Today's not about business." Jake raised an eyebrow, amused. "Didn't think I'd see the day." She laughed. "Blame you for that." As the sun dipped below the trees, the twins fell asleep on the blanket, their heads resting on Max's fur. Ethan dozed off too, his small hand clutching his dad's sleeve. Claire watched them with a quiet smile. Jake stared out toward the horizon, his heart full. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel uncertain. It felt alive. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above them, and Claire whispered, "You ever think maybe fate knew what it was doing that day?"